Two identical goats walk up to a temple. It is not the beginning of a joke. It is the beginning of the wild and confounding origins of Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur, you see, was not always a decorous, solemn day of prayer. It was once visceral, cultic, carnal, and foreboding. Among the many Yom Kippur rituals described in this week's Torah portion, the most famous and the most consequential is the enigmatic ritual of the two goats. This was to our ancestors what Kol Nidre is to us, the moment upon which the entire year tottered. How did it work? The Israelite priests found two identical goats. They were led to the entrance of the ancient temple. The fate of these twin creatures hung in the balance. One would be welcomed into the sanctuary and sacrificed as an atonement agent for all of the people. The other was touched by the high priest, who imbued it with all of the sins of the entire nation. Then it was driven out of the camp, out into the wilderness, exiled there, its fate unknown. Which goat would be sacrificed and which goat would be exiled was the determination of the casting of lots. One of those lots said, "For God." That goat was brought into the sanctuary as a sacrifice. The other lot said, "For Azazel." And I would translate that for you, except nobody knows what it means. But this was the goat that was driven out into the wilderness. So our sages and our commentators go wild over this ritual. They have so much to say. And we could argue that they have so much to say because it's Yom Kippur. This is one of the most important moments in the entire calendar. That's not really the reason. We have mountains of commentary primarily because no one truly understands what is going on. They ask lots of questions we have no answers to. Why goats? Why identical ones? Why does one live and one die? Or do they? What in fact happens to this goat that is sent into the wilderness? Why does that goat receive all of the nation's sins rather than the one that's actually sacrificed inside of the sanctuary? What, or maybe even who, is Azazel? Why cast lots to determine their fate? And why is this, of all things, the main Yom Kippur ritual, rather than something that is more in line with the rest of the sacrificial cult? There's a lot in here that feels uncomfortably close to the kinds of things we are not supposed to do, according to Leviticus. Our ancestors searched for answers to these questions because, after all, the work is mysterious and important. But one of the most resonant and relevant interpretations comes from Rabbi Samson Raphael Hirsch, a neo-Orthodox commentator of the 1800s. Hirsch suggests that this entire ritual must be read symbolically, and thank God for that. But he teaches that the goats are identical because they symbolize the individual. Both of the goats are us, but separated by a choice. Each of us stands before God with two divergent paths unfolding, and in every moment of decision, we determine which path we will travel. What's the decision? Well, it's the very same one placed upon the lots that they are cast, for the wilderness or for the sanctuary. Hirsch says it's up to us to choose. After all, we're given free will. And like the high priest who waits to see how the lots will fall and which goat will go to which place, God waits to see which path we will choose to chart, which goat's fate we will take as our own. So what does it mean to choose the wilderness? Hirsch, noting that the goat that is chosen for the wild remains alive while the other one is slaughtered, suggests that choosing the wilderness means surrendering to our animality, to the worst of our drives and our inclinations. We choose the wilderness when we make decisions according to our sensuality, lust and greed and selfishness and self-centeredness. We choose the wilderness when we act upon these aspects of our nature rather than using our willpower to overcome them. Hirsch declares that such a person has no place in the sanctuary. They have no place in the sphere of national life. So what does it mean to choose the sanctuary? It means the opposite. It means being willing to sacrifice our animality. That is why the goat that enters the sanctuary is slaughtered and offered up. It's a symbol for what we sacrifice when we subordinate ourselves to a higher purpose. To enter the sanctuary, to come close to God, to live and toil in a community, we must be ready to offer up our base instincts upon the altar of something larger than ourselves. To enter the sanctuary is to be someone who chooses to do what is right over what is gratifying, to act for the greater good instead of simply our own welfare, to be someone of whom demands can be made instead of someone who shirks responsibility, to be someone who uses power to care for the weak and the vulnerable rather than to mistreat them. Writing in the 1800s, Rabbi Hirsch aptly diagnoses our condition. He writes, "Respected or scorned, great or humble, rich or poor, today or tomorrow, no matter what the extent of one's power or possessions, at any time, anyone can become either for God or for the wilderness." And our tradition knows that there are moments in time when society glorifies the impulses that Judaism demands that we overcome. We are standing 80 years from Victory in Europe Day, almost to the very day. This terrible anniversary is a stark reminder of what the world looks like and what the costs can be when people reach into the wild rather than into the sanctuary. And we know well, that seeking the sanctuary while others reach for the wilderness can be very lonely. But our ancient rabbis are quite clear. They write in Pirkei Avot, "Uvmakom she'ein anashim, hishtadel lihiot ish." Wherever humanity is lacking, you must still strive to fulfill your humanity. So may we hold in our heart the truth that every day is Yom Kippur. Our choices can build a sanctuary fit for God, where all can dwell together in tranquility, free from fear and want. Or we can make choices that expand the edges of the wild into our cities and our neighborhoods, into our homes, and into our hearts. May we continue to strive for the sanctuary.